Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. Hello there, it's Brad. The Empowerography Live Conference 2026 is happening live and in person for the first time here in Toronto in April of 2026. This is your chance to step fully into your power over 2.5 incredible days. You'll hear from 30 plus inspiring speakers, join hands-on workshops, and connect with women from around the world who are ready to grow, learn, and rise together. This isn't just an event. This is an experience that will leave you motivated, empowered, and ready to take action. Seats are limited, so head to my website and secure your spot today. All the information will be in the show notes, and we look forward to seeing you in April. Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Dr. Nona Djavid. She is a mom, an author, an international speaker, the founder of eLIVate Club, and a 1 week or 1 month mastermind where she helps people create the business and life of their dreams. Welcome, Nona. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great. I'm excited to have this conversation.
I am so honored and excited to have you here. Thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. I cannot wait to jump in and share all about the beautiful light you put out into the world, a little bit about your story and your journey. So with that being said, let's jump right in. I would love if you could take us back to the very beginning, before the degrees, before the accolades, the titles. Who was the woman who first felt that tiny nudge that her life wasn't meant to be ordinary?
Ooh. Maybe I can take you back to before I was even a woman. I was a little girl.
Sure. Okay.
If we take out all the accolades, all the degrees and everything else, the earliest childhood memory that I have is actually when I was 2.5. And
Wow.
yeah, at 2.5, I was the only child. My mom was pregnant and I was about to have a sibling. So I'm sure I was excited. That's not the memory I remember. My parents say I was excited, but my mom was pregnant with a little boy, and my dad took me to the hospital and showed me where my little brother was. And I remember this memory really vividly. He picked me up, sort of lifted me up and showed me through the window and goes, "That's your brother right there." And I remember the smell of the hospital. I remember exactly which little crib he was laying in and what it looked like and what it felt like and what I was hearing in those moments. And unfortunately, the reason that memory is so vivid in my mind at such an early age is actually because it was a traumatic one. My brother never made it home. So he passed away in the hospital due to medical complications. And so in those moments, beyond that, I have some memories of looking to support my family as a 2.5-year-old. I'd bring my little toys to my mom because she would just all of a sudden cry uncontrollably in the kitchen, or there was struggle and challenge between my parents, and I would try to fix them. So the sort of fixer, the healer in me was born then. I knew that I was going to have to learn how to sort of take the suffering out. And this has shifted and evolved over the years massively. A lot of what I was going through was trauma-based to want to help the world and fix the world. So that's evolved, but that's really the beginning of where it all started.
That's a huge weight to have on your shoulders as a 2.5, 3-year-old to worry about and see the grief and the pain in your parents, and to try and be, as much as you could as a 2.5, 3-year-old, be a fixer for your parents, and to see them going through that I can't even fathom how tough that must have been for your parents, first of all. And of course, for you as the daughter to also be a kid still too. And then you're trying to step into this adult-ish role of fixing for your parents. I can't even imagine.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of I learned quite a few things with that experience.
Mm-hmm.
One, that life is precious, that
Mm-hmm.
my mortality, like I have a really good relationship with my mortality, which makes it
Mm-hmm.
really urgent. Like you asked the question, like, where did it start? Where you knew that you had to do more or you're
Yeah.
or more. It was because of that, because learning that life is short and I have
Mm-hmm.
urgency to live fully, to contribute fully, to impact fully. And I think another thing that it did for me that again has evolved is I want to be worthy of the life that I am given. It started out like
Mm-hmm.
that, but obviously
Yeah.
then different versions of it have evolved. But those are big things for me.
We could all take a page from that book and live life that we all need to, because nobody knows how much time we have here. We are not promised tomorrow. Nobody's promised tomorrow. All we have is right here, right now. So we need to live that moment like it's our last moment and do the things and go after the things that we want. Live with the intention of being in and of service to one another. I think so many people are missing that piece. That's a big part of why we're all here, is to be in and of service to one another, to support each other, to have an impact in this world.
Absolutely.
So, what was the catalyst moment or experience and that made you realize you had a gift for and are here to help people transform their lives?
So it was really a moment of challenge. As I mentioned at 2.5, I had that experience. So
Mm-hmm.
parts of that experience made me want to prove my worth. I'm here and I'm worthy and I'm alive.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody, is not here that's close to me. And so there was a lot of proving my worth that I wanted to experience in the early years. I moved to the United States when I was 16 years old, so I didn't speak the language, but I
Mm-hmm.
became this A+ student. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to do everything right. I went to Berkeley. I studied really hard. I got a degree in neurology. I became a doctor, opened up a business. So I did all of those things, but the energy behind everything that I was doing was really, again, proving my worth out in the world. And while there were some really good outcomes out of that, I got to help a lot of people in my practice as a doctor. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I got to experience life in a certain way. But ultimately, that burned me out. And I remember I
Mm-hmm.
was in my early 20s. I had worked really hard. I'd built a 7-figure business. I got all the degrees and accolades and everything. And I was completely unhappy, unfulfilled, and just exhausted from working so hard to prove my worth.
Mm-hmm.
That was really the moment where it became pivot. Became really obvious to me that I couldn't go on with that approach.
I hear that so often from so many women, that they go through that and they get all the things, the accolades, the degrees, all of the things, and they're doing what they think is what they're supposed to be doing. And there's no fulfillment there. There's no fire in the belly. It's okay. All this for what though? I'm not happy. This doesn't fill my soul. This doesn't set my soul on fire. And that's what everybody needs to find, is that purpose, that meaning to your life, that fire in your belly. There's nothing like that.
Nothing like that. And I think most of us go through that and pick the things and the degrees and whatnot really based on a subconscious foundation that comes from scarcity or lack. At least for a while,
Mm-hmm.
we do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then there comes to a point where it did in my life where I recognize I can't do this anymore. I remember being in a walk-in closet and Brad, I sat down in the walk-in closet. I shut the door, I shut the lights, and I just had my moment. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember thinking, if I walk out of this closet, I'm going to have to do things differently. And that's when I started to shift and pivot in what I was studying, what I was learning, what was important to me, what kind of life do I actually want to live? Because everything I had done up to that point was really knowingly or unknowingly what the society, the consciousness of the world, my parents, my culture,
Mm-hmm.
the media, the matrix, like whatever you want to call
Yeah, the Matrix. Yes, exactly. All the conditioning. That must have been so hard too, because I'm sure you had your parents or friends or, are you crazy? You're making 7 figures and you want to leave that behind for what? Really?
Exactly. Yeah, I had checked off all the boxes
Yeah.
that were supposed to be, you're doing the reasonable thing. You're getting married, you're having children, you're starting a business, you're successful. Check, check. And
Yeah.
here you are completely unhappy.
So what were your first steps then to step into that new version of Nona?
Yeah. I think it was a recognition and awareness that what I had done up to that point was follow what was reasonable. Was
Mhm.
reasonable by the consciousness of the world, right? So the world said, get a degree, do this, start a business. Here's the next step. Here's the next amount of money. Here's the next goal. And I had followed that without really sitting down with myself to go, wait a second, what kind of life do I actually want to experience?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
in that particular moment, I walked out of the closet and I started to jot down the things that I wanted to experience as a young girl. Like I wanted adventure. I knew I wanted impact because of the experience that I
Mhm.
had, but I wanted
Yeah.
it in a way that wasn't my responsibility, but it was my inspiration, my point of inspiration. I wanted my life to inspire people versus carrying everybody in my life or in my business, my patients with me. So it really started with sitting down and
Mhm.
deciding the kind of life that I wanted to experience. Like what was true? What did I know for sure that I wanted to experience in my relationship, in my business, in my life with my future children at the time? And I will say at that time, it seemed completely unreasonable for where I was sitting. And
Mm.
that's when I knew I was onto something.
That's the hard work right there, is sitting with yourself and saying, okay, what do I really want out of this life? What kind of impact do I want to have? What does my life look like? My ultimate dream life look like? And sitting there with that's, I think that's one of the things that people struggle with the most, is sitting with themselves and looking within and figuring, okay, this doesn't make me happy. What's going to do that for me? What's going to get me there? And what are the steps I need to take to do it with aligned intentional action?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most people get stuck there. And like I was,
Hmm.
I for a
Yeah.
while, and I got it wrong oftentimes too, is this is what I want, right? This is the house, this is
Hmm.
the career, this is the experience or the relationship. And then you move along and you're like, wait a second, that was also a borrowed dream. It wasn't really authentically mine. My soul didn't come here to experience that. It's just what I
Hmm.
heard somewhere, I'm sure along the way, because this doesn't look right.
Yeah. It's so often we carry the weight, the stories, the beliefs of so many other people. I would say 95% of the shit we carry is not even ours. It's been put onto us, it's been conditioned into us from those incredibly formative years of 0 to 7 years old, where we take on all the shit and we learn behaviors from who we're surrounded by.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there was a study, or I remember reading in a textbook, a pediatric textbook, where they talked about the only two fears that a human being is born with is fear of
Hmm.
loud noises and fear
Hmm.
of falling. And that's it.
Huh.
And if you think,
Interesting.
yeah, and if you think about it, those are not real like fears how you and I would be afraid of success or failure. They're actually
Right.
reflexes, right? Because if a baby is
Hmm.
hears the loud noise, then
Yeah.
responds, or if you go to put the baby down too quickly, then it responds. It has a reflex. So in
Hmm.
a way, every other fear and doubt and belief system and any I can't do more, I'm not worth everything else is just complete BS. Like we picked it up.
Yeah. Is it that is fucking mind-boggling to me that those beliefs stay so strong with us. And it is about rewiring those neurons, those neuron pathways to change the way we see things, to shift our mindset, to shift the way we think and believe in ourselves. That it is, oh, and that work never stops. It's constant.
Never stops.
We don't get to a point where, okay, I'm good now, I don't need to work on myself. And no, because we're constantly evolving as humans, we always need to be working on ourselves. But I think it starts first and foremost with the self-awareness that, hey, wait a minute, this shit isn't mine. And that's where the journey really begins.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What truth do you now live by that your old self would have thought was absolutely impossible?
I think the truth that if I want something that is wildly different than what I have experienced or what people around me have experienced, that I'm going to have to become that version first. Because what I used to think is I have to start with doing. I have to start
Right.
doing the things to build the business, to build the life, to have the impact. The truth I live by now is the energetics of who you are being. It just is it. Like 80, 90%. The more I go on, the more I recognize that the energetics plays way bigger role than the strategy, the mechanics, and the doing.
I think that's another common thing for women is the do, because again, this goes back to all the conditioning. You got to do this. You have to put everyone else first above yourself. And instead of the being and just taking the time to sit with yourself as you did in that walk-in closet and just reflect on what you really want. And putting yourself first is not selfish. And this again is another piece of conditioning. Women especially, I have to say, have been taught and brought up to believe that putting yourself first is selfish. You have to put your family first. You have to put your husband, your wife, your kids, everybody else before you. And that's completely false. It's a completely bullshit narrative, because if you do that, as you even experience, you go through burnout. You don't have anything left to give yourself, which then in turn leaves you with nothing to give anyone else as after that as well. You have to fill your cup for, and I know it's a cliche and we hear it all the time, but it is so true.
Yes. And I think there's this addiction. There's this addiction that we have to sacrifice, to struggle. And either we've experienced it in our care with our caretakers within them or with relation to us, but there's this level of addiction to struggle and to sacrifice. And we feel that if we don't do that, then we're not worthy of more joy, more impact, more love, more money, more freedom, more ease.
Yeah, you have to. Success is not easy. You have to work your ass off. You have to work so hard. You have to give, like, it's all bullshit. It's not true.
I agree.
Thank you for sharing that. What was the moment then you realized you weren't just changing your mindset, but you were fundamentally altering the way your consciousness operated?
Originally, when I got out of the closet, I made some really bold, not so much decisions, just some ideas of how I was going to live my life. And it really started with, now I have a whole framework where I teach, but this became the very first step in the process. So very first step in the process is, okay, what is the unreasonable life vision? It seems unreasonable now, but a future version of me, this would be totally reasonable. It'd be totally up her alley. And really committing to that. And then in that process, recognizing and saying, okay, what parts of me are not a match for this unreasonable life? Like, what do I need to let go of? What parts of me do I need to let go of? Like you and I talked about a minute ago, almost all of our identity, most of our identities picked up along the way. So identity is your thoughts, your belief systems, your emotions, your habits, a series of things that we have. So if I picked them up along the way, one, I could put some down. And two, I could also get choosy and picky about what parts I want to experience more of. I have this conversation with my students often where I go, are there days where you wake up and you're super confident because it's Tuesday? I don't know. You wake up and somehow you feel like you look good, you can do anything. And then are there days where you wake up and you go, not at all, like not having it, don't want to get out of bed? So which one are you confident? Are you not confident? So you tend to be the one that you experience more of. You tend to identify more with the part that you experience more of, that's more sustained in your everyday life. So if I can choose confidence, if I can see identity as a fluid concept, then I can wake up, before I get on this podcast with Brad, I can decide that I am going to choose and step into the confident version of me.
Yeah.
So I think this concept really blew my mind. And there's so many studies around this too, of how if you get in touch with a future identity version of you, so many really cool studies, how it changes the direction of your life and the decisions that you are making. So slowly building out this new identity based on the unreasonable vision that I had set for myself. So that became really pivotal in this process. And that's a big thing that I teach too.
I love that. So since we're talking about this already, Nona, can you share the rest of the step? You said this is the first
Sure.
step in the framework. Can you share the rest of the
Yeah,
steps while we're here
absolutely.
already talking about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step is obviously having an unreasonable vision for life. And
Mm-hmm.
I just want to insert in here, get it wrong. It's totally okay. You can always go back and change it. This is just on a piece of paper. It's not set in stone or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Second step in the process is expanding your identity. So figuring out who's the version of you, what do you need to let go of, what do you need to express more of, expanding your identity. That is going to make that a match for that first step, that the unreasonable life. The third step in the process is embodying that next version of you. Like I use the example, show up with Brad and be like, I'm going to embody the confident version of myself today. And you could do that in day-to-day life as well. And then the last step in the process is it becomes about doing. I call it taking unreasonable actions. But the pivotal point to understand is you got to become first before you get into the doing in order for your life to have the quantum leaps that we're looking to experience.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nona. So what is one truth that you've uncovered about yourself that was so liberating it felt like a rebirth for you?
Ooh, I think the one truth that I would say that I would want to share, I had a long meditation. Let's call it like I don't know, 3-4 hours of a meditation where I participated in, and it was very contemplative for me. One of the things that came to me in that meditation, in those meditative hours, was how much I had been carrying the weight of the world, really. Just nobody was putting it on me. It was just I had been doing it. And understanding that everybody has God's love. And when I say God, you can insert universe, anything you believe in. This belief system that everybody already has God's love, and that I am just here to live my most aligned version of my unreasonable life. And by doing so alone, by tuning into that alone, I will have way bigger impact than trying to carry the weight of my students and my business partners and my clients and everybody, kids, everybody that's in my life. So that completely shifted the way that I do everything and see everything in life.
That's a massive shift. Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
What do you think most people are actually afraid of when they say they're scared to take a quantum leap? What do you think is really underlying there?
I think some parts of us are afraid that if that happened, we would lose certain things. I remember talking to a woman who was in one of my coaching containers, and she was a money coach, and she was successful. She was doing really well. And she said, I want to make insane amounts of money. I said, all right. Picked a number, went through it, and I walked her through a process where I said, what would be the worst case? What happens? What would go wrong if you had this, she called it insane amount of money? What would go wrong? And of course, the first 10, 12 things that we come up with is just really on the surface stuff. This could go, I could lose it. This could go on, this could go on. And a few layers deep, she got an answer in which it was, if I have insane amounts of money, I am going to lose my husband. And
wow. So
she had this belief system that she didn't recognize that she had 10 layers deep, where she felt like, if I have quote unquote insane amounts of money, then I'm going to lose my husband. Someone's going to come after my husband. I don't know she didn't know where she got that from. She was just as shocked as me when I heard that coming out of her mouth.
Yeah.
But she had that recognition. And then I remember during that period of time, I interviewed maybe 10 to 12 other students of mine, because I got really curious. What's at the bottom of all of this, right? And you could say it's lack of self-worth, fear of failure, fear of success. What I really uncovered was that at some degree, we are afraid of loss of connection, loss of love, loss of connection. So every single person, I think out of the 12, 11 of those people that I interviewed, or if I interviewed 10, there was one person, I don't remember the exact, one person that didn't get to connection. Every single person I talked to when I took them through this process was some level of, my family is gonna, there's a disconnect I'm afraid will happen with my family. I had people who had already cut out, say, their parents, and they're not talking to them. And they're still afraid that if I live this unreasonable life, I am somehow going to lose or have disconnect. And you think about it, aside from shelter and food and air and things like that, our most important need is actually connection. So I think if you want to go on the surface, you could say, oh, people are afraid of fear and success and this and that and the other. But I do believe, I've come to believe this based on so many years of experience with people, is that loss of connection, ultimately loss of love. And it's funny because we want those things because we also want more connection. And we don't get them because we're afraid that we're going to have connection. Such a contradiction.
That is wild, because it as you're saying that, it makes me think back to when, way back prehistoric time, when you were kicked out of the tribe, that was death. Like, you're done. It's over. There's no connection. There's nothing. If you've been excommunicated, that's it. See you later. Your life is over. So that right there. Wow.
Wired.
Yeah. And then rewiring those pathways.
Yeah.
So huge.
So huge. And same reason the kids, I love that example you brought up, and how it shows up is a baby. If you don't touch them, if they don't have contact, love, connection, if they don't have that, leave them in a crib, they have failure to thrive. And ultimately, even if they're given nutrients and vitamins, everything, they have failure to thrive, and they are likely to not make it.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What has studying the brain taught you about why people stay small, even when their soul wants to just expand and blow up?
Something that I share all the time, and I've learned this pretty deeply, is that what we end up experiencing in life is what we have experienced. Like, basically, outside of what we have experienced in the past, we are not capable of experiencing anything different. All right. So it might look different, meaning, I think a really simple example of this is if you've had a toxic dynamic growing up in a relationship and your parents, then because that is your comfort zone, that is your safety, your nervous system really feels safe in that, you will end up with a partner that somehow shows up in that dynamic, similar dynamic. All right. Now, you might get a divorce or break up with that person, and you might go through 10 other relationships. They all look different. They all have completely different careers. They all feel different initially. And then if you're with them long enough, they will be a mirror of what you have experienced ultimately. So in psychology and neurology, we call it neurotagging. So it's basically like you've tagged, your brain and your nervous system has tagged you as, this is what is real. This is what's possible for you. And in psychology, we typically say you're here because you've experienced it in the past, right? Your brain is just wired for that. So in order to change that, and this is the part that we need to make, it's pretty intense. You got to experience something different. So what do you mean? Now I got to go back and have different set of parents, or now I got to figure out how to have a different experience of life? And this is where it gets interesting. And this is where there's a lot of work that's been done around this. And this is where my jam is. But how do you change that? You can't physically change your experience, right?
Right.
But what you can do is you can mentally give your brain and your nervous system a whole new experience. And if you did that often enough, and if you repeated that new experience, then your brain, and this has been talked about to nauseam, but the same areas of your brain will light up when you do the thing as when you are thinking about it. So if I have a model of a relationship in my brain that is healthy and it's filled with the things I want to experience, then I can continuously give that to my brain and nervous system over and over again. And my brain and my body does not know the difference.
I was just going to say, your brain doesn't know the difference between whether you're thinking about it or experiencing it.
So there you go. So if you want to experience something different and you can't go back and change your childhood, then give a new version of that to your brain. And this will blow through how much capacity we have because of our childhood or our upbringing for money, for joy, for freedom, for ease, for love. And all you have to do is create it in here. Now, obviously, physically, you can give yourself that experience too. You can go drive the next car, or like test drive the next car. You can be around people that are at your next level. You can find mentorship. You can look up to somebody who read a book about the things. But I think the most important part, and the one you have access to right now, sitting here, is your mind and your nervous system, using it as a tool to give it a whole new experience.
Yeah. All you have to do is just that.
Everything.
It does sound so simple, right? It really does. When you, like, all you have to do is just change your thought patterns, but that's where the people get stuck, is changing the thought patterns and rewiring the pathways. And it does sound incredibly simple, but it does, as you said off the top, it does take, this is the hardest part, is this is where the work comes in, is changing those thoughts and rewiring the pathways. And but if you're willing to put in the work, if you want, we always have a choice. You could stay stuck where you are, and that's okay if that's what you want to do, or you could put in the work and you could elevate yourself to a whole other level by doing the work and rewiring and changing your thoughts and all the things. So if someone could only rewire one belief in their subconscious to elevate their entire lives, what do you think, in your opinion, should it be, and why?
I think it should be that they are loved. If I know that I am loved fully and unconditionally, then there's no more seeking. There's no more seeking. There's no more afraid of failure, afraid of success, not worthy, scarcity, any of those. I feel like that would be the emotion to anchor in.
Yeah, we are the foundation for everything. It all starts with us. We have everything we need within us. You just have to, and that self-love journey is a tough journey, a tough one for sure. What is the biggest internal shift someone has to make if they want to stop living life on default and start living by design?
Sometimes you got to get to a place where you're so sick and tired of where you're at, and without going down the rabbit hole of life is stuck, and if I just keep doing this, I'm going to get the same thing. If I keep doing the same thing, I'm going to get the same thing. Sometimes we got to get there. And I always say in humanity, there is no de-evolution, right? We're all going to evolve. Either the universe will throw you a trauma, a disease, something like that, so that you get the lesson, you go to the other side, or you can choose with intention to evolve. And so, you'll do that. And I will say the one thing would be to commit to a different life. If you're not enjoying the one you're in, or there are parts of it you'd like to see expand, then I would say a commitment to the new life would be important. And I also don't want to make it sound like it's easy. When I set out the vision for an unreasonable life, there were days where I woke up and didn't want to get up. And there were days where I got up and I was in full confidence mode. But no matter what, I made a choice to say yes to my vision. So that commitment, that kind of care, and continues to. I still have those days, but continue to commit to the next version of myself.
Yeah. As you said, that's one of the questions you pose to your students. Are you going to wake up confident, or are there going to be there's always going to be those days where we don't feel at our best and we don't feel like getting up, and you have to have the awareness to realize it. I think we have to let those, it's okay to have those days, because we all have them. We're human beings.
Yeah.
It's part of the journey as humans. But I think the key is to not stay stuck in that shit, in that mud, right?
Yeah. I think the biggest piece is not how often you go off track. The biggest piece, like you're saying, is how much time will you spend off track? Like how quickly will you come back to your center and into your commitment spot?
Yeah. What is one identity that you rewrote for yourself that created the biggest quantum jump in your own life and your own journey?
Oh, that's a good one. So there still is, but it was a lot more intense, of this parts of my identity where it brings out the initial conversation that we had about struggle and sacrifice and having to work hard in order to have any level of success. I've been able to rewire that over and over again. One of the first things I did when I started with my business, I worked on that belief system. And one of the unreasonable things I wrote down was that I was going to take that 7-figure business and I was going to do it part-time, which seemed so insane. It was like I'm part-time 20 hours. And I kid you not, it seemed so unreasonable that I was like, I don't know, I'm going to give it a try. Like, what's going to happen?
I'm just going to try.
Just give it a try. Next thing you know, it took me about a year to do that. I shifted the systems, worked a lot on my energetics and the belief systems. And within that year, I built a business. I reshifted that same business in which I was working by then 20 hours a week, and it was a 7-figure business. In that same year, I also opened up 3 other locations that were generating another 7 figures. So that shifted, that pattern of sacrifice and success completely shifted for me during that year. And then fast forward now, having had multiple other businesses, a family, I live bicontinentally. There's a lot going on in my life. And I had this vision, you could say it was a God moment. It was, you're going to now work 1 week a month. So I know.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, when I had the vision, my first thought wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is exciting. My first thought was like, what the heck is this? No.
How is this even possible?
How is this possible? My body went into full physical panic attack. Like, how am I going to do this? Because that old belief system that I had that I have to suffer was still there. It was different. It looked different. I'd created a lot more freedom and ease. But here I was, the vision comes and you follow when you hear the vision. And so after I had my panic attack, I decided that I really didn't feel worthy of that level of ease. Because the first thought that came to me was like, you don't deserve the success that your business has. Your business is going to completely shatter if you take that much time off. And it took a little bit of time to get the business there. And I always tell people to put the systems in place, the mechanics and the doing in that business was not as hard as making my nervous system feel safe with that level of freedom that is now allowing me to world school my kids. I live between Southern California and Italy, and also helping business owners do the same thing, to be able to take their lives and their businesses to that next level without the trauma of burnout.
I love that, because you are proof of what's possible. It is possible. You have done it, and here's how you do it. You give your clients the steps here. This is the work you have to do. You can get there. I'm living this life right now. I think that is so fucking inspiring and incredible, Nona. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for sharing that story. I think that is amazing.
Thank you. It wasn't the easiest, but we got it. We made it.
As mentioned off the top of the interview, you are an author. Can you tell us all the things about the book, the title, when you wrote it, what inspired you to write it? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I wrote this book in 2015. It's called eLIVate Your Life. And life has changed so much since then. I'm actually working on a second book. And my second book is called 1 Week a Month Lifestyle. It's a journey and literal steps. It's not out yet, but I'm really enjoying diving deeper into these concepts we just talked about today. How do you shift your mind for more freedom? I know not everybody wants the 1 week a month. Some people just want to take a Friday off, or they just want more freedom or more love in their life. So it's really my sort of love letter to humanity on let's welcome more ease and freedom instead of struggle and sacrifice.
I love that. We'll put the link for your first book in the show notes when the episode's released, and then we'll see about the second book, getting it out there for people to learn about that one when it's finally done. So in your book, you talk about the 7 pillars. Which of the seven pillars in your book was the hardest for you to embody, and why?
Probably love. I know we keep going back to that one, but I'm still on that journey. Still learning how deep can I go in self-love within myself. And there comes a level of surrender that you are loved no matter what you do or what you accomplish or what you don't accomplish, or if you're just sitting there, if you're on vacation, no matter what you're doing, you are worthy of it.
So, Nona, you are also, as I mentioned, the founder of the eLIVate Club. Can you tell us all about that and why this work is so personally important to you?
I launched eLIVate Club because it was at a time where I'd learned a lot about the energetics, the mindset, utilizing the nervous system to hack your brain and hack your success in life. I wanted to focus on 3 areas, which is wealth, health, and area of connection. And I just wanted a space where I would share what I was learning. And because you learn by teaching as well. So I wanted a space where I would teach the things that I was learning along the way, either from my life experiences and or from other mentors that I had. So I started it as that, and then it really evolved into this really beautiful, amazing, incredible community of people that are hungry for more. They just want to experience more life, more love, more vitality, more health, and I'm just honored to be facilitating it. So inside of that group, I share secrets to quantum leap your life, your business, your relationship on weekly basis. It's a coaching container. So I do coaching calls inside of the group as well. And I think really valuable thing inside of the club has been for me and for other people inside of the club is actually the community, to be able to people that are wanting more out of life.
Yeah, as we said, community is that's a pillar of life. That's a staple. And it's so important. So again, we'll put the link for that in the show notes as well. What truth do you now live by that your old self would have thought was absolutely impossible?
I think just the pure fact that anything is possible. You could do literally anything that you train your nervous system to, because I used to believe certain things were not designed for me. Even if I wanted that experience. And now I have a completely different belief system. I think if I don't have it, something that I desire, something I want to experience, a level of impact I want to have, if I don't have it, I got to go deeper within myself. It has nothing to do with the possibility or impossibility of it.
I love that. If your higher self could sit across from your younger self right now, what is the one sentence she would whisper that would change the girl's entire destiny?
And if she knew that I was from the future, that everything is going to work out. It makes me feel emotional, actually. That everything is going to work out, that you're going to do great things. Everything's going to everything's going to be fine.
If every woman listening right now could receive one message from you, what would she need to hear right now? What would you like to share?
I'd like to share 2.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
One is something I live by, which is if you want something that is wildly different in your relationship, in your life, in your business, in any area, you're going to have to do things that are wildly different. And in order for you to do things that are wildly different, you have to become a version of you that is wildly different. And the second thing I would say is to trust your gut, to trust and surrender to that higher knowing. That's what.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. What does freedom mean to you at the very deepest level, beyond recognition, beyond status, beyond money, all of those things?
Beyond all of those things, I think freedom is the ability to show up and be your most authentic self, because you have nobody to prove anything to, because you're not trying to make anything happen. You're not worried about what's in your bank account, what relationship you have, who's doing it, who's not doing it, what's being said, or any of those. Is just to show up and be present with yourself without any of the other thoughts.
Beautiful. How do you define success? What does that word mean to you?
To me, success is how much desire I have to help other people. So the bigger the desire in my heart to help more people, and the bigger the desire is to help them in a deeper way, then that's my definition of success. It used to be that success was the typical things: the house, the car, the relationship, the business. And now I have come to a point where I realize it's not even the outcome. It's not even a client saying like, this is what I did because of you. It's not the validation. It's more like what's in my heart. If I have the desire, how big is my desire to help people? How big is my love to support others? And that's how I define success.
Beautiful. What does the word empowerment mean to you?
I think the word empowerment is knowing that you have everything you need inside of you to take the next step.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing. Okay. What is your favorite place on earth?
Gosh. Oh my God. I don't know why I want to say my home.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah. All right. What is one of your secret or hidden talents?
I speak a couple of languages.
Okay. If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
How to live an unreasonable life.
What is one of your guilty pleasures?
Anything with chips, anything crispy and...
Okay. What is one word that sums up your mindset?
Possibility.
One book that changed your life?
U squared.
And what is one word that defines the woman you are becoming?
Free.
That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you ahead of time. Nona, how do you define love, both the kind you give and the kind you receive?
How do I define it? Is it a rapid question?
No.
How do I define love? I don't know if this is so much of a definition, but I would say here's what I've learned about love.
Okay.
In order for me to receive the love that I desire, I have to be whole in the love that I feel for myself. So if I want to experience more love, I've got to have the ability to give it to myself first. If I want unconditional love, then I got to ask myself, when was the last time you gave yourself unconditional love? If I want presence with love, I would ask myself, when was the last time you gave yourself presence with love? So I think it all really originates from you, from inside of you.
Beautiful. I love that. If you were to introduce yourself to me without mentioning your occupation, where you're from, your religion, your ethnicity, all of these day-to-day markers that we use, how would you introduce yourself to me?
Was this on the list?
It was.
I don't know.
Do you want me to? I'll remove that one. I'll take that one out.
Okay.
Hang on, just let me make another note here.
Sorry, making you edit all.
No, it's okay. That's okay.
I got to think about that one, though. I'd like an answer for that.
Okay. If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
I think you covered it all, Brad.
Thank you. I received that. That means a lot to me. Thank you for that. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
The tendency is to pick somebody famous, and I can think of so many inspirational women. I really would have loved to sit down with one of my female ancestors on my mom's side to get some wisdom and some stories of what they have gone through and what the thread has been to this point. I feel that would be really juicy.
Yeah, for sure. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Trust yourself.
Lastly, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your corner of the world, your tribe, your people, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
That living a reasonable life is a trap, and learn how to go outside the box and get straight into what it feels to live an unreasonable life for you that's authentic.
Beautiful. I love that. Nona, thank you so much. I have so enjoyed our conversation. This has been so much fun. I am so grateful for you taking and making the time to be here with me today to share a bit about your story, your journey, and of course, the incredibly beautiful light you put out into the world through the work you do. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure to have this opportunity to sit and speak with you and share in your story. I am grateful to call you a friend and to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you and everything that you do to highlight the light that's in other people. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Once again, my name is Brad Welsh, host of your Empowerography podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women. Today, my guest has been Dr. Nona Djavid. She is a mom, an author, an international speaker, the founder of which is a 1 month, 1 week mastermind where she helps people create the business and life of their dreams. Thank you so much, Nona. Have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visiophoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.